Man, happy Saturday, y'all. Happy Saturday. So the title of today's conversation, it is Love is a Sacred Reflection. Twin flames, false flames, and when souls remember each other. So we've been talking about a lot of manifestation, but today's gonna be a little bit more poetic. We are going to talk about soulmates. We're going to talk about twin flames. But I'm going to talk about these things from a unique perspective. I'm going to talk about them in alignment with just purely searching for your divine counterpart. Somebody that, a lot of us search and find, or search and try to find in this lifetime. So the quote that I'll start off with, it's an Edgar Allan Poe quote from Annabelle Lee. It is, "We loved with a love that was more than love." All right, we loved with a love that was more than love. Right, the beautiful part about this is that when most of us are reaching for love, we're reaching for a love that actually transcends this physical reality. Right? We want a love that is so consuming that we cannot explain what it means to us. Right? And the beauty in this divine love that is said to even make angels jealous at times is that this is a love that we typically only find once in a lifetime, or once every few lifetimes. Right? It might not be something that we're guaranteed to receive right now. So let's talk about our natural human hunger for this type of love, how it can lead us through our physical experience, and then how we can manage this burning desire within us. All right. So the great hunger. Okay, what are we really seeking in love? Every soul, whether aware or not, longs for union. Not just with another person, but with something eternal, something that reminds us of where we came from. And yet many of us walk into love not seeking union, but seeking relief from loneliness, not seeking to give, but to fill a void. So Psalm 42:2, "My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God?" Okay, so this thirst isn't always quenched by physical closeness, sweet words, or even lifelong partnership. Because what we are truly after is divine union, a reunion with the one who first loved us. But instead, we often settle for dysfunction disguised as romance. Okay, something that many people find themselves chasing in the cycle of life is you get with a person and your soul needs to attract certain people in your life because you have made the decision that you want to be in this divine union. So you'll receive people and their purpose is to push you down a journey of healing. And how they do that is they expose pieces of you. They put this mirror up to you and they say, okay, this is something that you need to work on. You feel validated with me, don't you? All right, well, this cannot last. I'm simply here to teach you this lesson. Then they pull away. We see it as heartbreak. We see it as betrayal, whatever you want to label it. Right? And then we are pushed to be on this very intimate journey by ourselves, where we have to sit in solitude, sit in isolation, and really analyze what about this last relationship was I clinging to because I lacked the ability to give myself something. And if we're not careful, if we don't take our time and sit in this, we'll end up going out meeting someone else, and then their purpose will be to do the same, to push us back down this path of getting to know oneself. Right? This is an unfortunate situation. So let's talk about divine union, because this is what I really want to touch on. I don't want to talk about divine union. Right? So divine union is not merely the coming together of two lovers, but the reunion of souls who once danced in the halls of eternity. It is the echo of a promise made long before flesh knew form, when spirit recognized itself in another and vowed to find its way back across lifetimes, heartbreaks, and holy fires. Divine union is the sacred remembering, where love no longer seeks to possess but to reflect, not to complete but to awaken. It is the kind of connection that doesn't just make your heart race, it makes your soul weep in recognition, as if the entire universe exhaled the moment you touched. This is the love that most of us long for, that most people go through their life and they long for. When you meet that person, you believe this could be the divine union because of the eternal infiniteness of your soul. Right? You don't just think about this lifetime, you think of this lifetime plus whatever is after it. I will love you till I die and beyond. I will love you to infinity. Right? I will love you to infinity. And so let's keep going. But the path to such a union is not for the faint of heart. Right? There's always light and dark. Light and dark is just creation. Okay? We don't need to label it good or bad. It is just part of divine creation. All right? But the path to such a union is not for the faint of heart. It is tragic in the most celestial way. For to be worthy of divine union, one must first be broken open, stripped bare of illusion, ego, and every counterfeit form of love once called home. The irony of such a love is that it often arrives after loss, after the fall, after the death of who you thought you were. It does not save you, it transforms you. It brings both heaven and crucifixion, and still we yearn for it, not because it is easy, but because it is true. Because somewhere deep within we know this is the love that leads us back to God. Most of our pursuit of love, of this divine union, is a pursuit for yourself. It is a pursuit for union, for closeness, for that intertwinedness with the divine. Because this is what you know. This is what your soul craves for, because this is what you experienced before you came down here. The closest that we can get, though, is in finding ourselves in another human. Right? And so we spend all this time looking for this quote unquote divine counterpart, looking for this soulmate, looking for this person that completes us in a way that nobody else can. And really, we are looking for God within someone else. We're looking for someone who can see the God within us, and vice versa. So when we talk about aspects of the worldly relationship versus the divine union, they're different, right? So I use these specific words right here, right? So let's see here. All right. So love no longer seeks to possess. Worldly love wants to possess. When you look out at social media, there's plenty of topics on what your woman should do, what she should be allowed to do, what your man should do, what he should be allowed to do. Right? But this divine union does not seek to possess, it seeks to reflect. This is the ultimate form of love. It is the mirror. It is the love that the Most High provides you. As you look out in life, every single person that comes across your path, every situation that you experience is reflecting a part of you back at you. The same way that your divine counterpart will take up that mantle, will help you experience the God within yourself by reflecting you to you. All right. The next part, not to complete. Lots of people, when they're in the world, they want a partner to complete them, a partner to make me feel whole. Right. But the divine counterpart, the goal of this divine counterpart is to awaken. Not to complete, but to awaken. And you never fully awake. Keep that in mind. You never fully awake. You have tried to awake. You have been on a journey of remembering who you are for lifetimes. And you will continue to go on that journey for lifetimes. And every time you think that it clicked in your mind, there is something else that you start pursuing that clicks even further and more, and then pushes you into the vastness of the infiniteness of the universe. The beauty in that is that infiniteness is also within you. So this divine counterpart, you and them, seek to awaken the God within each other over and over and over again, across lifetimes, across timelines, across multiverses, because they take up the mantle to help you see the God within you the same way that you are helping them to seek the God within them. So it's never about completion, because we know as infinite beings, infinitely expanding beings, there is no completion. But there's always more awakening to do. There's always more mirror work that I can do, right? So it is the kind of connection that doesn't just make your heart race, it makes your soul weep in recognition. Right? It doesn't just make your heart race, the exhilaration, the butterflies, right? That fast burn that typically turns into that inferno that burns your life down, right? It makes your soul weep in recognition. In the recognition that this other person is me, this other person is God, right? So ego-based love, the illusion of completion. All right, it's gonna be the first section. Ego-based love, the illusion of completion. All right. So ego-based love is transactional. It says you complete me, or it says even worse, you belong to me. Okay. This kind of love feeds on insecurity. It thrives on power plays, silent wars, and codependence. The ego wants to possess, not to unite. It fears vulnerability. It measures love by how much someone caters to its wounds instead of how much it can pour out. Right? The ego wants to possess, not to unite. It fears vulnerability. It measures love by how much someone caters to its wounds instead of how much it can pour out. This is world-based love. I've went to therapy. I've figured out what is wrong with me. Now I need you to tap dance around that. I need to hold you accountable for not deepening my wounds, all right? But that divine union says, no. I need to awaken you deeper into who you are. You can transcend any of these wounds. The God within you does not walk around wounded. The God within you does not walk around hurt. The God within you does not walk around a half-assed shelled version of itself, right? The God within you is eternal. The God within you is ever expanding. The God within you is infinite, as you are, right? And so I love you so much that I'm going to continue to put up this divine reflection for you, okay? So James 3:16, where envy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder and every evil thing. All right. So ego love looks like fireworks, but burns like wildfire. Okay. It promises paradise and often delivers pain. Let's read that one more time. Ego love looks like fireworks, but burns like wildfire. It promises paradise and often delivers pain. All right. Let's get back into a book quote. So ego love dazzles at first. It is intoxicating. It is urgent. You got to move down the path quickly. All right? It is electric. It sweeps you off your feet with grand gestures and magnetic chemistry, making you feel like you finally found the one. All those chemical reactions are going off within you. You believe, okay, this is the one. All right? But beneath the surface, it's not rooted in depth. It is fueled by unmet needs, fears of abandonment, and a desperate hunger to feel worthy through someone else's eyes. I need you to complete me. I need you to see me as worthy. Therefore, I can feel worthy finally. I can rest in you believing that I am worthy. This is ego-based love. All right? This is ego-based love. It mirrors back your wounds instead of your soul. Like fireworks, it explodes in brilliance, but leaves only smoke and silence in its wake. You don't want that shit, okay? And like wildfire, ego love consumes everything in its path. Your peace, your boundaries, your sense of self. It burns hot and fast, igniting passion without presence. One moment it is ecstasy, the next it is ashes. It promises heaven, but only delivers a cycle of longing and loss. Because ego doesn't want love, it wants possession. It doesn't seek union, it seeks control. And until we see through the illusion, we mistake the heat of destruction for the warmth of divine connection. All right. You don't want that shit, man. 100%. So soul-based love, okay? A path to divine remembrance. Soul love does not need, it remembers. Okay? Soul love does not need, it remembers. All right? The healing that you believe that these other people in your life need is the healing that you actually need, that you actually need to receive. Okay? Soul love does not need, it remembers. It remembers that we are not halves looking for completion, but whole beings seeking reflection. It's when one soul recognizes the divine spark in another and bows to it. In the words of Rumi, lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. Well, this is the phrase namaste, right? The divine in me, the God in me sees the God in you. And I finally can recognize the God in you, right? Soul love is sacred. It is slow. It listens more than it speaks. It holds space without possession. It says, I see God in you, and I will not dim your light to ease my shadow. I will not make you tap dance around my shadow. You don't have to do that. I see the fullness in you. I see the divinity in you. I see the God in you. I worship the God in you, matter of fact. All right? I want nothing less than the God within you. All right? And I won't tolerate you being lesser than yourself just because of my ego, my attachment to what a therapist told me. I understand that you are here to reflect things to me. I understand that this journey will not always be easy, but because I see the God within you, because I know that you see the God within me, we can work through whatever. We can get through whatever. We will get through whatever, right? And so this kind of leads to another thought. A thought that I always had, right? Because there's always multiple layers of truth, right? And, in our conversation last night, this is what I was thinking about. We were talking about twin flames and soulmates. And since we cannot truly walk around with a radar that says this is my soulmate or not, right? We have a worldly, based on our human perception of what a soulmate is. Or we can look at it from a divine aspect and say, all right, from a spiritual perspective, my soul had polarities. It had a masculine and a feminine polarity, and those split. And they went off, and they're experiencing life and crossing paths through lifetimes, sometimes briefly, sometimes for longer. Okay? But what if we are all soulmates? If I truly have faith and I understand, if I know how the divine operates in my life, there are no coincidences. Every single soul that I encounter is meant to teach me a lesson, to push me further into the fullness of myself. All right? And so whether the love burns strong, whether it's a hatred, whether they expose me to something that is within myself that I need to work on, who is to say what my true soulmate is? We can make whatever definition that we want, right? This was just a very interesting perspective. So what if we are all soulmates? Okay, not just the ones who kiss our mouths and hold our hands beneath the stars, but the ones who wound us with silence, who leave when we are most open, who arrive only to awaken something sleeping. Right? What if soulmates aren't meant to stay, but to stir, to pull back the veil for a moment and show us our reflection in their eyes, sometimes radiant, sometimes shadowed, but always divine? What if the stranger on the train, the lover who broke us, the friend who disappeared without a word, were all pieces of a cosmic choreography, moving to the rhythm of our souls remembering? What if the purpose of love was never comfort, but awakening? And every soul we meet is another face of God, disguised as joy, heartbreak, kindness, betrayal, inviting us to soften, to open, to return. Perhaps we are all soulmates, dancing each other home, sometimes hand in hand, sometimes by letting go. Right? The poetic part of life is that everyone you meet plays a key role in pushing you back to oneness, pushing you back to who you are. pushing you back to God. Everyone plays a role in this awakening of you. All right? And so everyone has this divine role to play in the choreography of your life. Okay? Who is to say who is more important or less important in that journey? If I look in the mirror and I truly love myself for the man that I have become today, right? You love yourself for the man that you have become today. You love yourself for the woman that you have become today. Who are you to hate any of the experiences or any of the people who have pushed you to who you are? Who would you be if not for certain difficult situations? Who would you be without certain random conversations that sparked something within you, that made you late for a meeting that sent your life down a different trajectory that you cannot even measure in this moment? Because it just falls in the grand design of your life that really runs too deep for you to be able to micromanage. See, we have this illusion of control. I start here, I end there, and I made the plan, and the plan went wrong, and I was pushed off course, and I was redirected here. And life is a lot more chaotic once we start moving through it. But that chaos is part of divine planning. Right? The chaos is chaos because we can't understand it, because we can't see through the illusion of everything going on around us. Right? We can't see all of the energy flowing. We can't see how certain people have to move, how it's not their choice. They have no choice but to move out of your way. They have no choice but to tell you no, to push you to where you need to be. Right? And so the moment that you have a desire, it is as if every soul in this world begins to orchestrate and turn towards you and say, what do we need to be? Who do I need to be? What do I need to give? What do I need to provide for you to wake up to the fullness of your divinity? Right? And so when I come into that inner knowing, who is more important than the other? Is the soulmate the one that broke my heart, that truly pushed me into the understanding of who I am? Or is the soulmate the person that I end up with later? Or is the soulmate the one who broke my heart, right? Who forced me into a terrible situation, maybe financially, the business partner that we went bankrupt together, but that taught me enough lessons to step into a different purpose to actually help the world in a different way. Which one is the soulmate? Which one was more important in the grand design of my life? Who's to say? Right? Who is to say? So every person that we meet in a way is our soulmate. Every person that we meet, every conversation that we have is pushing our life into a more divine trajectory, right? But it's up to us to sit back, enjoy the present moments, right? Whether it feels painful, whether it makes us feel full of joy, whatever the case may be, to understand that there are no accidents, there are no coincidences, and everyone plays a divine role in your awakening. You are not who you are without the limiting beliefs of your parents. You are not who you are without the people who had to walk out of your life, the jobs that didn't hire you, the jobs that did hire you, the ones that fired you, the people who made you late for things, the people who made you go broke, the people who helped you back on your feet. You are not who you are without any of these people. All right, so therefore, in a way, they are all soulmates. All right? So the next section, all right, sacred text and the divine blueprint. Okay? From Genesis to Song of Solomon or Song of Songs, right? Love is not just romantic, it is symbolic. So God created man in his own image, male and female, he created them. All right, Genesis 1:27. Masculine and feminine were never enemies. They were intended as polarities of the divine, reflections of God's wholeness. Sacred union is not just sexual, it is alchemical. It blends action with intuition, strength with surrender, discipline with flow. All right? Not only so we can look throughout scripture, we can look throughout different spiritual texts, different religious perspectives, and we can see different perspectives on how the masculine and the feminine are created. Typically, these are in metaphorical stories. We have the story of Adam and Eve. We have the story of creation, all these things. But the truth is that masculine and feminine energy were made at the same time, right? There was oneness. There was the divine. There was infinite consciousness alone in the vastness of space. And that infinite consciousness split into two perspectives. The first perspective being the masculine or the positive, and the second being the feminine or the negative. Not positive and negative as our human minds believe and conceive, right? But positive and negative just as energies. Nothing more, nothing less, just energies. There's two sides of the same coin, like hot and cold, right? Tall and short, right? They're just measurements, polarities, right? Right? When does one stop and the other begin? That's up to you to decide, right? But these energies were made together, and then there was one more perspective, the observer, that was created, right? And this energy was actually able to decide from what perspective it wanted to view. If it wanted to view from the positive, if you wanted to create from the positive or from the negative. But both of these energies have always been intertwined, right? In every single thing, there is positive and negative polarity, right? In every single thing. In you're not purely masculine. You're not purely feminine. You have aspects of both within you. This is your divinity, right? And you can tap into either energies to create. Right? Even when we look at concepts like positive and negative in our human perspective, we label things positive or negative because we are a species that loves to judge. We like to say this perspective is wrong, or this perspective is right, or what's going on is wrong, or what's going on is right. But as we just discussed, who are you without every single situation that's unfolded in your life? All right. If we have a natural disaster that comes through and wipes out a rainforest, wipes out a city, and people pass away, we would call that an act of God. But would you label God bad from that? All right. When you have situations that you look out and you say, this is not looking, this is not looking the way I intended it to go. I did not want it to unfold this way. And then it ends up going well for you. And you say, oh, I guess everything does happen for a reason, right? Our human perspective, we understand that things happen for a reason. We understand that when a wildfire goes through a forest, somehow the forest regrows more beautifully. We understand that at certain times in history, people come through with polarizing opinions, polarizing perspectives that make you choose, that say, choose, is this right or wrong? And people take sides. And because people take sides, this pushes humanity into a different stage of evolution, a different stage of consciousness. We see this play out over and over and over again. There is no change without polarity. Polarity is just needed to create. Now, whether you want to label it good or bad, right, and disrupt your nervous system over it, that's completely up to you. But in the end, when we look at it from the perspective of the Most High, right, everything is divine. There's nothing that the Most High does not use for creation. We just tend to label things one way or the other because we are in the world. Even if you think of the most grotesque things that happen to people, right? And these people might grow up to be spokespeople against that cause, right? Against that thing. There's always some kind of alchemy with every situation that we can go through, right? And I'm not saying that it's always easy to see this, right? But this is in your divine nature to be able to see this, okay? So next, let's talk about the Song of Solomon, or the Song of Psalms, okay? So the Song of Solomon, it speaks in mystical poetry more than sensuality. So it is a dance of union. And the Song of Solomon is one of the more interesting books in the Bible because there's obvious metaphysical perspectives in it, all right? The entire Bible, you can look at it as a book of history. You can look at it as a book of prophecy. You can look at it as a metaphysical book. You can look at it metaphorical. In every single way that you look at it, you will find so many different versions of truth. And all these truths are layered on top of each other, right? Song of Solomon is one of the easiest ones to decipher, all right? So Song of Solomon 6:3. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. All right, so this isn't possession, it's mutual belonging without bondage, right? I belong to my divine counterpart as she belongs to me. Right? In its most straightforward reading, the Song of Solomon is a celebration of love, desire, and beauty between a bride and her beloved. All right, so it speaks vividly of yearning for one another's presence. I am faint with love. I love you so much that I am faint with love, right? The beauty of the beloved. You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you. This is the true definition of seeing the God within you. There is no flaw within you. You are altogether beautiful, my love, right? Desire and sacred union. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine, right? Psalm 1. So sacred union, sacred desire. So in this view, it is an affirmation of God-created desire, intimacy, and the sacredness of human love. Now, let's look at some spiritual and mystical interpretations, okay? Because when we are on this search for our divine counterpart, we are truly on the search for that connection here in the physical plane, but we're also on that search for oneness with the Most High. The divine counterpart becomes the most beautiful reflection that you will experience in your life that truly shows the God within you. But it's not always comfortable. And it's not always easy, because seeing that you are limitless often requires you to strip down the illusion of your ego. You have been made to believe that you are limited, right? You have been made to believe that you cannot transcend this anxious avoidant label that has been placed on you. But your divine love sees the God within you and sees you as limitless, right? So it would be very uncomfortable for someone to try to expose you to who you are. So this is the difference between that worldly love and that divine love. Divine love looks to awaken you to who you are. I do not support you in sitting in your limitation. Right? But what does worldly love say? Worldly love says, I need you to perform this way to protect my ego. And this is why a lot of people struggle with the depths of their intimacy, the depths in their relationship. Because this is what they're looking for. I'm looking for someone to dance around what the therapist told me I was. I'm looking for someone to dance around, what my zodiac says I am. But you have every single zodiac sign within you. You have all 12 within you. Every single one. The same way that you have God within you. You can transcend every label. You are not a slave to jealousy. You're not a slave to control. You're not a slave to however you were raised by your parents. Many of your souls chose the parents that you had to experience because your soul knew that if you got to a point where you could transcend their limiting beliefs, there was nothing else in this world that you could not accomplish. Right? But instead, we've taken the wrong route and we have internalized these beliefs. And instead of saying, this is my zodiac sign, this might have been an indication of some of the trauma that I've experienced in past lives, some of the karma that I'm carrying over. And these are things that I can transcend to go to evolve into the more godlike version of myself. I just say, okay, I'm going to be a prisoner to this. Because I'm this, I have to act like this. And your mind is strong enough to attract situations that reinforce those beliefs. Going to a therapist these days and getting some of these diagnoses, you're an anxious avoidance, the same as going to a voodoo doctor, a witch doctor, to tell you only have 4 months to live because you have a curse on you. We internalize these things the same way. Sure, you might think one sounds ridiculous and one is absolutely rooted in science, but why do you believe that? Why do you believe they're different? What's different about them? What have you been told that has allowed you to believe That somebody saying, I have put a curse on you and you have 4 months to live is different than someone saying that you are an anxious avoidant because you have went through these things, so you have to be like this for the rest of your life. What is the difference? Well, it is a lot of programming. Right? And oftentimes we get so caught up in what we've been told and what we're programmed that we forget that we are the ultimate authors of your life. It is not what that person says that has power in your life. No one can manifest your life for you. No one can if I have difficult conversations with people and they are projecting towards me limiting beliefs, you're not going to be able to do this. You can't do that. They have no power to change my mind. They have no power to change my life. They could sit in meditation for 18 years straight, wishing on my downfall. They have no power over me until I give them power with my belief. But the moment that I strip this power away from them, they have none. What they do is in vain. What they do is in vain to me, right? No one can put a spell on you. No one can, it is your mind that makes these things powerful. It is your belief that someone can limit you that makes you limited. But you are infinite. All right? So let's get into some of the spiritual and mystical interpretations. So for centuries, mystics, theologians, and spiritual seekers have read the Song of Solomon as an allegory for divine union, the soul's relationship with God. All right. So in Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah, all right, the beloved is Israel and the lover is God. Okay. So their passionate yearning, these two lovers yearning for each other, this symbolizes the divine romance between creator and creation. Like we always talk about, there's always multiple layers of truth. Yes, you're looking for this divine counterpart in the physical plane, but on a soul level, you understand that divine counterpart is going to bring you to God. This is why you fiend for them so much. This is why when you find the one and you look into their eyes and you say, oh man, this can be the one, you begin to think beyond this lifetime. Automatically, doesn't matter if you're highly spiritual or not, doesn't matter if you believe in heaven and hell or reincarnation, doesn't matter what you believe. The love that you have for this person, you cannot imagine that ending just at death. The love that I feel for you goes beyond death. It will span across lifetimes. It will go through heaven. And if need be, it will go through hell. This is how you feel when you meet that divine love. Your soul understands that love is limitless. And the only way that love could be limitless is if in this love you are actually seeking something limitless, which is yourself and which is God, right? So the union speaks to the soul's longing to return to the source, right? Which you always have. And you can do this 2 ways. You find that divine counterpart that puts up that mirror to you, or you sit by yourself in meditation and you pull up that bliss that's already inherent within you. Right? Or you go the middle path, which is attracting people into your life whose sole purpose is to push you into the journey of actually meeting yourself. And they do this by hurting you. And in that pain, you're forced to go into that healing journey and sit by yourself. All right? So there's multiple ways that we can do this. We can do it however you want. Right? But ultimately, the goal is always to get back to God. It's to get back to the divine. And your soul will try to get you back to the divine any means necessary. If you do not want to sit down by yourself, we will keep pushing people into your life, pulling people into your life that will make you sit down. And then when you actually can conjure up that wholeness within you, and you can actually relax into it and understand that you are whole without someone, that you are loved without anyone because the God within you is love, because you are worthy without anyone because the God within you is worthy. And now you can actually attract that divine counterpart. And because you're not seeking validation within them, your eyes are open, your heart is cracked open. And now you can take these soul expanding lessons that this soulmate will provide to you. You can allow them to see with you. Because you can sit still with yourself, you can sit still with them. But if you can't sit still with them, if you cannot sit still by yourself, how could you ever allow someone to sit still with you and truly see you? If you cannot sit still by yourself, if you cannot see yourself, if you cannot sit in the discomfort of your own feelings, your own pain, of your own trauma, how could someone else? How could you connect with anyone else? It's an illusion to think that you can. And it's also a sign that you're not looking for divine connection. You are looking for someone to complete you, which is not divine connection, which is the absolute opposite of divine connection, is wanting someone to complete you. No one can. They never could. You're whole by yourself. Right? This goes back to the conversations we've been having about worthiness, about love. You've been programmed so much from a child, right? You came out the womb and your parents said, this is how you have to act. And you acted that way to get their validation. You're a good son. You're a good daughter. You told them, hey, Mom, I'm going to dress myself today. All right? And they said, okay, cool. It looks great, even though it didn't. Then you went to the school and they said, you're a good student. You're a good reader. Here's a sticker. They made your validation tied to something outside of you. Then you went to the job and they do the same thing. Here's a raise. Here's a performance review. And the same thing that we're programmed to do all of our life, we take that to our relationship. Like, I can't wait to get a woman so I can do this for her. I can't wait to get a man so I can do this for them, so they can validate me. Because if I can look in your eyes and see that you validate me, see that you see me as whole and enough, then I can feel like I'm enough. But this never works. What you'll attract are people who will give you just enough validation to latch on to them. And the chemistry will burn so intensely in the beginning. But when they pull away, because you're not whole, and because it was never a divine counterpart, and you went in with a selfish ego desire to seek completion instead of awakening, those sparks will start to burn like a wildfire, and it will burn you into a healing journey. It will burn your sense of self-worth to the ground. You will walk away feeling lesser, feeling more deflated, feeling lower than you did before. And then the process will start again. And you'll have the decision to make. Do I give myself the intimacy that I'm begging the world to give me? Or do I try to seek completion in someone else, just like I did the last time? And we see a lot of people get into this cycle, unfortunately. Right? These are the brothers and sisters that I feel sympathy for. Because you have fallen from your godhood, seeking completion within someone else. And when you do this over and over again, you have no choice but to believe that everybody is the same. You have no choice but to believe this, because this is all you can attract. It's like, damn, I keep attracting the same type of people. I keep attracting the same type of men, the same type of women. All these men ain't shit. All these women ain't shit. And then you get on social media and people prey on your emotions even more. And so now you start to attach your value to what people are saying on the internet. When your value was never anything to work for. You think that you step into this spiritual world and you say, I want to get the things I want. And a spiritual teacher says, well, you have to feel worthy before you have it. You have to feel that you already have it before you have it. And so now you believe that worthiness is a feeling, when worthiness is something that you were born with. And if I believe that worthiness is a feeling, that I can bring it up, feelings are flowing. Feelings are fleeting. You're not any feeling. So if you walk out and you experience something negative today and that feeling goes away, are you not worthy anymore? No, under all of that, you are still worthy. Just by you thinking that you have to work for your worthiness, you're communicating that you do not believe that you're worthy. This is how the program gets you. It programs you to want to work for everything. As a divine manifestation of the Most High, how could you work for worthiness? As God made incarnate here, how could you work for worthiness? How could you be more worthy than knowing who you are? This is the highest level of self-actualization, is when you remember who you are. You can do all of this work. You can try to say, I'm going to do all this self-love. You're going to get your hair done, your nails done, you're going to get a massage, you're going to do all these things. You can try to do all these things. But whether you do that or not, you are still love. You are still infinite consciousness. You are still God made manifest here. And the only thing you know is worthiness. The only thing that you know is love, but you've been programmed away from that divinity. You think that these are things you have to work for. For me to be love, so I can be a vibrational match to love, I have to do things that make me feel love. By saying that you have to do something to make you feel love, you're communicating that you don't believe that that's your natural state of being. So you'll always be in a state of chasing that. I have to do things to make me feel worthy. I have to act as if you already are. Acting as if you are, being who you are and knowing that you are worthy is enough. This is your vibration. This is the vibration that you want to get on. This is why they call it authenticity being the highest vibration. It is knowing who I am, God. And what are attributes of God? Worthiness is an attribute of God. If I ask you, is God worthy? What would you say? Absolutely. Is God within you? Absolutely. Then what are you? If I ask you if God's love, absolutely God is love. Is God within you? Yes. So what are you? You are love. What does this even mean to work for it? What does it mean to work to feel love? What is feeling? You get in your car right now. You wake up and it's raining outside and you feel down. Worthiness is not attached to a feeling. Feelings change. You cannot control them. Stop thinking that you have to. When you go around trying to control your worthiness, your love, like they're these feelings, you can't even enjoy life. You walk through life like a robot. I have to constantly suppress my emotions. If something goes bad, I want to ignore it. You are not meant to ignore anything. You're meant to go through life, know that you are worthy, know that you are loved. And because things are unfolding in a certain way around you, you can look at them. Because things are unfolding around you, you can look at them, and now you have been given dominion. Will you label this as good or bad? Will you say, it does not look ideal, but the God within me is perfect, therefore the situation must be perfect? Or will you say, oh, this shit is falling apart? Either way, you're right. Will you say, dang, man, this shit is fucked up? Or will you say, this must be divine timing? Either way, you are right. Why? Because you are the divine in the timing. You are the divine in the timing. You bless it as so. You bless it a curse, or you bless it as a blessing. You bless it as divine timing, or you bless it as a mistake. This is the power that you were given. All right? But man, I just went on a side quest, right? So to wrap that up, we need to not work to feel worthy or work to feel that we are loved, but we need to forget to know that we are worthy, and forget and fall into that inner knowing that you are loved. It does not matter what you do today. You are worthy and you are loved. It does not matter how you feel today. You are worthy and you are loved. It does not matter what is going on around you. You are worthy and you are loved. It does not matter if you made mistakes yesterday. If you just made a mistake today, if you're going to make a mistake in 5 seconds, you are still worthy. You are still loved. These things never waver in you. They never waver in you. It is your natural place of being. Amen. It is your natural place of being. It is who you are. So, back to the Song of Solomon. All right. So the spiritual and mystical interpretations, when we talk about Solomon, the Song of Solomon, this is a beautiful love letter, right, between Solomon and his beloved. But like I always say, right, there's multiple layers to everything. So on one hand, we are looking for that divine counterpart in the word. On the other hand, we understand that because I'm looking for this divine counterpart, what I'm truly looking for is the God within them. So what I'm truly looking for, I'm looking for myself within this other person. Right? And I'll say it again. This is why you understand when you meet someone and you believe this could be my soulmate. This is the person that I want to be with. Death does not become finite for you. You look at this person and you say, I will love you in every lifetime. Doesn't matter how spiritual you are. Doesn't matter what your beliefs are in the afterlife. You know, say, I will love you through multiple lifetimes. I will love you through heaven. And if I need to, I will love you through hell. This is how much I love you. Our soul knows no limits. Our soul knows no limits. All right? All right. So in Jewish mysticism, the beloved is Israel and the lover is God. Okay, so their passionate yearning symbolizes the divine romance between creator and creation. I love you too, brother. All right, so the union speaks to the soul's longing to return to the source. So in Christian mysticism, the bride is often interpreted, so this is Christian, so we talked about Jewish mysticism, Israel and God, right? The divine romance between creator and created. In Christian mysticism, the bride is often interpreted as the soul or the church, and the bridegroom as Christ, right? That Christ within you, okay? So the intense longing and pursuit reflect the soul's spiritual journey towards union with the divine. It is as if we fall from heaven and we come to earth, and our soul knows that we have to go through this experience, but it's always longing for home. And the closest experience that we can have to home here is that union with yourself, that union with God, right? But after that, it is that union with someone else, right? It is that union with someone else, right? So energetic and metaphysical layers, okay? So from a more esoteric and energy-centered perspective, the feminine and masculine energies in the Song of Solomon represent the inner polarity within the soul, the dance of intuition and action, surrender and presence. So just the balance between the masculine and the feminine energy. This is beautiful. This is layered, right? When we understand romance, love on our physical level, on a physical level, right? We also can understand it on an energetic level. We can also understand it in a spiritual and a divine level, all right? So the union symbolizes wholeness, a state where the inner divine marriage takes place, and the soul no longer searches externally because it has awakened the beloved within. So mysticism and energy work, the dance of polarity. In energy terms, divine union happens when masculine and feminine energies are in harmony. This isn't about gender, it's about flow. So masculine is presence, consciousness, direction, and then feminine is intuition, is creativity, and is surrender. So when love is divine, these energies serve one another, not dominate. So the chakra system also mirrors this dance. So the heart chakra is where human love actually becomes sacred. And then the sacral chakra is what governs sensuality, but only when connected to the heart does it become holy rather than lustful. We had this conversation briefly the other day where we talked about the fine line between lust and desire. You'll never stop desiring your wife. The moment that you first meet her, you don't know she's gonna be your wife, but you have desire for her. Where does lust start or lust end and desire begin? All right, and so this clearly tells us, okay, when your sacral chakra is open, activated, when you're operating on a higher frequency, right, and it's connected to the heart center, then lust turns into desire. Right, the lust you feel becomes more holy. All right. This is one of we also had that lecture just the other day on sexual discipline in the church. So one of the main things that I talked about was we are constantly taught, especially as men, how important sexual discipline is. But in institutions like the church, they will tell you, just keep it in your pants, no sex till marriage. But we're not taught what to do with that sexual energy. And this is a very potent energy. Okay? And so we also talked about how your masculine energy, or let's say your sexual energy, your masculine sexual energy, your desire for feminine energy, one way that you can express that is through your desire for multiple women. But another way is you have pursuits of other feminine energy in the world. Because most of the world is feminine energy, right? Money, feminine energy. This is why even when women want to get more money, they have to step into more masculine energy because it's polarity, right? Freedom is feminine energy. The nice things you like, feminine energy. Cars, big ass buildings, sky high rises, all that shit is feminine energy, right? So a lot of times our pursuit for the feminine is really our pursuit for freedom. It's our pursuit for purpose. It's our pursuit to conquer, all right? And so this is a man's basically a primary focus in our lifetime is that pursuit, all right? So let's talk about divine lovers and how they activate each other's energy centers, okay? So divine lovers are not mere bodies colliding, okay? They are energies intertwining, souls awakening through sacred touch and presence. When they meet, something ancient stirs. The root begins to pulse with safety. The sacral overflows with creative fire. And the heart cracks open like a lotus kissed by dawn. Their connection is less about possession and more about permission to rise, to feel, to remember. With every gaze, every breath, they whisper to each other's energy centers. You are allowed to open now. As they move together, not just in flesh, but in frequency, their union becomes an alchemy. The throat chakra finds its voice in their truth. The third eye sharpens as they mirror divine sight in one another. And the crown ignites like a star as if heaven itself is pouring through them. Divine lovers don't just make love, they become love's expression. And through that sacred merging, they don't complete each other, they awaken the divine already living within, right? So all we talk about consciousness and we talk about transcending worldly definitions. If you're not careful, the world will pull you into these definitions that aren't even what your soul craves. Your soul does not crave a counterpart to complete you. Your soul craves a counterpart that wakes you up, a counterpart that helps you energetically align, that becomes that divine mirror that says, whoa, you're not really stepping in love and righteousness. We're gonna work together, and as a byproduct, your heart center opens, right? You're not actually working on divine desire. You're operating more from lust. Let's work on that together in a gracious way. And now your sacral energy and your heart center are connected. And now you can do things like raise your kundalini, raise your Holy Spirit, raise your eternal flame, right? We can open up the crown together, right? All of these things happen because that other person sees the divinity in you and you see the divinity in them, right? But this requires a certain type of person. You have to do work to receive this divine counterpart, right? You have to release a lot of illusions that are attached to your ego. The main ones are that you're not worthy, and that love is a feeling. Because there are going to be times with that divine counterpart where you think that someone's showing you this mirror, right? And I have a poetic way of writing things, right? But to think that this will always be poetic, right? That is an illusion. You pour into it. And you allow the results to be the poetry, right? You allow the journey together to be the poetry. You pour energy into one another and you build moments of deep connection, moments of deep intimacy. But this is amidst the work. And it's going to require you to confront discomfort together. to confront conflict together, to become alchemists of everything, understanding that everything is an opportunity for us to step into deeper intimacy and deeper connection. Every single thing that we experience together is an opportunity for us to step into deeper connection, deeper intimacy, deeper chemistry, deeper divinity with one another. Right? I see the God in you, and I refuse to see anything less. And I refuse to allow you, to empower you to step and to walk as anything less than the God that you are. That's a disservice to you, and it is a disservice to me. Right? This divine love is not to suppress. There's nothing about you that I need to suppress, that I want to suppress. There's nothing about you that I want you to keep from me. All right? This is the love that your soul craves. You've been programmed to think otherwise. You've been programmed to think that you have to worry about earthly things. You've been programmed to think that your value lies in worldly things. But your value has never fluctuated. Ever. From the moment you popped out your mother's womb until today, your value has never fluctuated. The only person who has diluted your value is you, with your beliefs. The only person who has diluted your concept of love is you, with your beliefs. That is it. Okay? So the real work, number 5, clearing the channel. All right, so to love divinely, we must purify our vessel. This means, number 1, healing childhood wounds. Now, when we talk about healing, let's be very, very honest. When we're talking about healing, a lot of times we're talking about forgetting. We're talking about forgetting, we're talking about forgiving, we're talking about transcending. Okay, releasing energetic ties, soul ties that still bleed our spirit. Okay? Practicing forgiveness, not just to others, but to the versions of ourselves we became in the name of survival. Your entire life till now has been based on survival. You've needed the approval of others to survive in this world, point blank, period. You're in the corporate world, right? If you work in the corporate job, there's a part of you that still operates on survival. You need the validation of others so you can feel worthy, so you can get your paycheck, so you can provide. How do you do that divine dance of understanding that you can be one person there, but when you're with that divine counterpart, can you relax into the God that you are? You've had to perform your whole life. Doesn't matter if you've had the most perfect childhood or if you've had a childhood filled with what we would call trauma. Right? You've had to perform in some way, shape, or form. You've had to perform to be validated. You had to perform when you were hungry, you had to cry. You've had to do things to get your parents' love, so you could feel love. You had to cry at certain times, right? You had to do this through the school system. You had to read a certain way, speak a certain way, take tests a certain way, hell, cheat a certain way. You had to do what you had to do to survive, to be validated. Right? But now, a lot of that, we get programmed for so long, and then we come into this inner knowing of, all right, well, there's more out there. I want to be this vibrational match for the things that I want. Oh, I need to work to be worthy, work to be loved. And now you go down this incorrect path again. There's no work. There's no work to be worthy. There's no work to be loved. There's forgetting the programming. This is the work. And it seems counterintuitive. It seems difficult because we've been programmed the opposite our entire life. We've been told that we have to work to get everything. I'm telling you, the love that you are, you do not have to work for. The worthiness that is tied to you just breathing oxygen, breathing consciousness. You don't have to work for this worthiness. Because the God within you is worthy for whatever you want. Right? So a lot of the healing childhood wounds, it is forgiving. It is understanding that my soul, it is understanding the divine nature of life. And my soul had choices before it came down here. We tend to think that this life is accidental. But what truly happened is your soul decided, I'm going to come back down to earth. Let me choose parents that are in alignment with what I need. And to the best of your ability, you chose. Some of you needed parents more absent. Some needed parents more present. Some needed parents with more limiting beliefs. But then you transcended those beliefs. All right. Who would you be without those limiting beliefs? You would not be who you are now without those situations. So if I can fall into the inner knowing that I am loved, that I am worthy just by being, and then I accept myself for who I am, who am I to hate what I've been through? I wouldn't be who I am without what I've been through. Right? And then the next piece is the releasing of the energetic ties, of the soul ties that still bleed our spirit. Right? And to release soul ties, we need to have an understanding of what they are. Right? Anytime you enter someone enters you. Right? There's an etheric tunnel that's formed in between lovers. Right? And the purpose of this is for y'all to transmit information back and forth. Right? So I lay down with a woman, or a man enters you, right? There is a tunnel. Now, there's a purpose for this, because back in the day, there was no cell phone. So what this tunnel does is it aids in the passing of information. Right? It makes you more telepathic. So I should be able to have a gut feeling, if something's going on back in the village and my woman's in trouble. She should have a gut feeling if I'm going to come back from war or not. I need to know if she's in trouble or not, right? But then also, we understand that from a spiritual aspect, marriage doesn't mean that, you walked in the church and you signed papers. Marriage is sex. So when I lay down with someone, when we have sex, we are married spiritually. Okay? And so we also know that two people joined together in prayer is greater than one. We know that through several spiritual texts. Right? But what is prayer? Is prayer just when you're on your knees and asking for something? No, prayer is every thought. Every thought is an electrical signature that's sent out to the cosmos. Right? And then your heart, being the magnet, pulls those things back into your reality. So every thought, every word that you speak is like a boomerang that you throw in front of you to confront you later on in your life. No word, no thought is in vain. They all go out to confront you later, right? So now if I lay down with someone and we have this soul tie and we're connected, we're spiritually married, our thoughts become one. So this is beautiful when we're in alignment. You know what I'm saying? She loves me, I love her, and we have goals together. We both have purposes that are aligned. She looked at me when we first met. She saw the man I was. She saw the purpose, and she was aligned to it. And now both of us are pointed in the same direction. Where this is a problem is when y'all fall off. This is one of the reasons why we weren't really intended to have sex before marriage, because of some of the spiritual ramifications. You fall off and now you're thinking, this man will never be shit. Man, she'll never accomplish anything. And now because y'all have a soul tie, what have y'all become? Y'all become a double-minded man. And a double-minded man is what? Unstable in all of his ways, right? You're sending these different energetic signatures. So most of us are walking around with soul ties all over the place. You know what I'm saying? If you could connect the dots on a map with a lot of people's soul ties, we have soul ties all over the world. Soul ties in Ghana, soul ties in Australia, soul ties in New York, soul ties in Texas. Right? But we don't need to believe or we don't need to internalize that soul ties are negative. They're not. All right? They're things that are actually meant for us to share bonds. They're meant for you to grow connection with someone. They're meant for y'all to be able to manifest things easier together. All right? But when we step into hookup culture, We pervert this notion. Again, sleeping around with everybody, right? And now we lose that true sense of connection by having that single soul tie, having just a few soul ties, or even energetically cleansing ourselves enough between partners. How long do you wait between partners? Have you ever asked the Most High, have you ever asked your body, your soul to clear out those soul ties for you? To pull your energy back from anywhere that doesn't serve you anymore. To pull your energy back from every single place so you can start new right now. Right? You don't have to do a cord cutting ceremony. You don't have to do all that mess, right? The moment that you call your energy back, you call it back. Right? So it's nothing extremely scary. It's just something that we need to be aware of. You want to be in control of your energy. You don't want your energy just being leaked and, mingling all around the United States. Okay? So we can demystify soul ties, demystify them. The power is always in your mind. When we talk about spells, when we talk about the voodoo stuff, the power is your mind. Your mind makes things powerful. Your belief is never about the actual doing. It's never about the process. It's about the intention. It's the same way with cooking, right? Cooking is the same as casting a spell. This is why when your grandma makes food, it tastes better. You could do it the exact same way she does. It won't taste the same because of her love and her intention that's in it. It's going to make that food taste better. It doesn't matter if she's making you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You could stand right by her, do the exact same motion, spread the peanut butter perfect on the bread, just like her. It will taste better when you eat hers because her love is in it. Her desire to nourish her family, right? The power of her mind, right? And then your understanding of the love that she has for you, right? It just makes that sandwich so much better. All right, shout out to all the grandmas, man. All right. So practicing forgiveness, all right, not just to others, but to versions of ourselves we became in the name of survival in a worldly way, right? So we've talked about childhood wounds and forgiveness. We've talked about soul ties, right? One of the third things, practicing forgiveness. So one thing that happens to a lot of us in heartbreak is that we experience this negative situation with somebody. And when we go through it, what we do is we put that person on this pedestal and we start to look at them and say, why did you do this to me? Why did you make me feel like this? Right now I have to move this way through the world because I cannot let this happen again. And when we do that and we begin to internalize what they do to us, right, we start to move different through life. So now because of this other person, we have become the side character on our own life. And so we're moving through life. And if we meet somebody else, we might even say, look, I'm going to tell you what I've been through, because if you understood what I've been through, if you understood what this other person did to me, then you could understand me more. I want you to think about that. All right? I want you to think about that. Now, I have become a prisoner to this other person. I have become a slave to this other person. They control me now. I'm not even the authentic version of myself. I have changed. I have made this person the main villain, the main character in my story, and they're whooping my ass every day. I can't even step into relationships the same anymore because all I can remember is you hurt me. And now I have to be like this. Right? We have to forgive people. Not for them, but for you. You holding grudges. You being upset at people. They're living their life. The only person that's being hurt by it is you. And yes, understand it's a lot easier said than done, but this is the work that you owe to yourself. You owe it to yourself to forgive other people so you can show up as a better version of yourself. You owe it to yourself. So every time you meet someone new, you're not just spilling out the mouth all the shit that you went through with your ex, and now you're turning off people before You even have a chance to meet them before they even have a chance to meet you. Matter of fact, they cannot meet you. They have to meet you through the filter of somebody else that hurt you. This is ego love. Ego love looks for completion. If you know what I've been through, then you can understand me more. I need you to validate me. I need you to tiptoe around my insecurities, around my hurt, around my brokenness. Right? But divine union looks to awaken. He says, no. I see you past this bullshit, but no, I refuse to sit here and accept you walking as anything less than divine. And I would expect the same of you. I would expect the exact same of you. All right? So Psalm 51:10, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. All right? Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. You can't attract a soul from a wounded frequency. Wholeness attracts wholeness. Frequency attracts frequency. Divinity attracts divinity. Depth attracts depth. Pain attracts pain. Pain repulses wholeness. Low frequency repulses high frequency. Right? Worldly desires repulse divine desires. Okay? Oh man, I'm just seeing the YouTube stuff, man. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get into that. I appreciate you. I'm gonna get into how men can tap into their feminine energy. It's a good topic. I'll get right into that. So reflections, questions for the soul. All right, number one, am I seeking someone to love or someone to validate my wounds? Which one am I truly seeking? Okay, when you're out in the world and you're looking for this divine counterpart, whatever you want to call this divine counterpart, okay? Are you looking for someone who, because of what you went through, they will treat you a certain way to make you feel whole? Or are you actually seeking divine connection? Are you actually seeking someone to awaken you? Are you actually seeking someone to pour into? To someone to expose the parts of you that you need to improve upon? Or have you simply created this prison in your mind of who you are, and everyone else has to tiptoe around the box of that prison? Okay? Do I want to possess or to serve? Is my desire to serve this person into the depths of love, into their heart, into the inner knowing of God that they are? Or is this somebody that just looks good with me? Right? Is somebody that I can see myself with you for the rest of my life if you act like this? If you do it like this? Okay? Does my love feel like bondage or like breath? All right, does my love feel like bondage or like breath? Have I prepared myself to be a sanctuary, not just a lover? Have I prepared myself to be a sanctuary and not just a lover? I'm gonna take a second to think. Well, I gotta light a candle with that one, man. Have I prepared myself to be a sanctuary and not just a lover? All right? Because divine union begins within. When you become whole, you stop bleeding on others, right? When you become the love you seek, you stop seeking and start radiating. How to stay grounded when you feel like running based off of what you've been through. That's a beautiful question. So If I cannot sit with myself in the stillness of discomfort, right? If I haven't taken time where I'm at home and I've went through this heartbreak or I've experienced this pain, you might have been fired or whatever we consider a tragedy in our life that has happened. If I'm not able to sit down without the distraction of the TV, right, to ignore that itch to pick up the phone and call somebody to vent, right, without that desire to pick up a bottle and drink, if I can, it all starts with self. If I can get to a point where I can start sitting through the the uncomfortable situations alone by myself, now I become more equipped to sit through discomfort with other people, because it's never about suppression or denial or truly overcoming. It's about self-mastery. Your relationship is going to be about self-mastery. You are going to have uncomfortable situations over and over and over again. And we have to transform our view on uncomfortable situations. These are a bridge to deeper connection. It's a bridge to greater intimacy. That's all it is. It's an opportunity for growth. There is no healing in the comfort. The healing, the growth, the expansion comes in the uncomfortable situations. It is the unknown. The unknown is always soul expanding. It's always consciousness expanding. And we can see this in all levels of our life. So if we truly understand that life is multidimensional, where do you get growth? Whether you're trying to, get a new job, so you have to learn a new skill, there's going to be time where you have to sit with the discomfort of not knowing what you're doing. And you have to be patient enough with yourself. You're going to have to give yourself grace to push through that, to continue to move through that, to allow yourself to feel that to feel that energy flowing through you, to allow yourself feel that discomfort, and then create a new story that's attached to that feeling, that's attached to that energy, right? How can you become the alchemist of your life? You do this with your perspective. You do this with your perception. On one end, I can look at it and say, man, this is uncomfortable because I've been through it with other people, right? And now I don't really want to go there because I don't know what the outcome is going to be with this other person. On the other hand, because I feel this discomfort, this is an opportunity for me to grow in love with this person. This person beside me, we're going to grow in love. We're going to grow in connection. And if we don't, guess who I'm going to grow in love and connection with? Myself. At the very least, I will grow in love and connection with myself. So it is always a win-win. Always. Every opportunity that you have to sit in discomfort, it's a divine opportunity. It is your soul calling you back to yourself. We can create whatever story we want that's against that, but what it truly is on a spiritual level is when your soul invites you into uncomfortable situations, it is time to expand. It is time to grow. It is time to become more equipped and more in alignment with the things that you want. Right? This is a skill you're going to get better at as you do it with this person over and over again. But it's never something that will be completely comfortable, because discomfort is not comfortable. It's discomfort. It's the exact opposite, right? But when we focus on the story, right, now we can attack things with a more beautiful perspective. And your perspective is always going to be the creator of your reality. And like I was saying earlier, it's divine timing or it's not because you bless it so. It's like soul expanding time or it's not because you bless it so. All right, I'm telling you though, but it always is. The Most High is intentional. The Most High doesn't make mistakes, right? The Most High is absolutely purposeful and perfect and divine. The design of your life is designed. There's no accident. There's no coincidence. So don't look at anything like an accident or coincidence. Look at it as a divine opportunity for expansion, to grow in depth, to grow in intimacy, to grow in love, to grow in all those things, right? It's all divine. No exceptions, right? And if I can't see it's divine yet, I can just look a little bit deeper, right? No problem, Goddess. So in conclusion, right? The highest form of love is not ownership, but reflection. Okay? Divine love doesn't erase you. It reveals you. It pulls your soul closer to God, not further into ego. I just felt something, man. That I felt that in my heart, right? Divine love doesn't erase you, it reveals you. It pulls your soul closer to God, not further into ego. Okay. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, one of the more beautiful verses in scripture, in my opinion, right? Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love never fails. Never fails. It keeps no record of wrongs. Let's go a little bit deeper, because I am going to, how we think about one thing is how we think about everything. I want us to remember the nature of the divine. We've had a lot of conversations about manifesting. The last one we talked about John 12, 23-24. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatever you ask in my name. Don't make me misquote this. Come on. All right. So whatever you ask in my name will be given unto you. All right. In the name of my Father will be given unto you. Until now, you have asked nothing. Right? So in my name means in the name of I am, the name of God, your true name, the I am awareness, right? So I am beautiful, I am prosperous. We tend to think of these things from the perspective of we want to say I am because I am means now. That's one reason. Because there's only now. Right? Because the Most High lives in the present moment. Because there's no concept of the past and the future. We just experience things linearly. Now, before I get too off track, the next part, until now, you have not asked. You have not asked until now. All right? What does this mean? Because we might think, yes, I have. I've been praying for 6 months. I've been praying for a year. What this means is it doesn't matter what you were doing for the last 10 years. It does not matter what you were doing for the last 5 minutes. What are you aware of now? This is how the divine thinks. This is how the mind of God thinks. This is how your true nature is that your true nature is not attached to the past and the future. You are from a fleshly perspective. You are. Okay? So until now, you have asked for nothing. So if I'm asking now, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I've been asking for this shit for 5 years and it hasn't come. Been thinking about this for the last 10 weeks and it hasn't come. I am aware that I've been asking in the past. Right? With my awareness right now should be, it does not matter what I've asked in the past. Right now is where all my power is. Right? So we see why I'm saying this, and I gave the full lecture on this. Why I'm saying this is that we have to, when we understand the mind of the Most High, we can understand spiritual matters more. When it comes to asking for my desire, what does God prioritize? What does the Most High prioritize? What does the Most High within you prioritize? Right now. Right now, I am prosperous. Right now, I am wealthy. Okay, when it comes to love, what does the Most High prioritize? Right now. It keeps no record of wrongs. It keeps no record of wrongs. You do, but that's not divine love. The Most High is not worried about what you did yesterday, 10 minutes ago, 10 hours ago, 10 years ago. What are you doing right now? This is divine love. Who are you right now? It keeps no record of wrongs. That's a powerful ass part, right? So the real question isn't, do they love me? It is, does this love return me to God? Does this love return me to the present moment? God is in the present moment. The Most High is within the present moment, right? So I'll end that one right there. See, I'm sure I missed some questions. We can talk about questions. I'll give a quick conclusion. We'll talk about questions, and then we'll talk about how we can get in tune with our feminine energy as men, because I think that's a divinely important topic. And nah, brother, I don't smoke anymore. Miss Lala, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys. All right, so in conclusion, in divine conclusion, okay? I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Right. In divine conclusion, your soul is descended down here, and it craves union with the Most High. And you crave divine union. And the world has watered you down to thinking that your divine union is attachment and it's possession and it's someone to complete you. And if you can see me as complete and you can love me in a way that validates me, then I can feel whole. But this will never fulfill you because it's beneath your divine nature. Right? Your divine nature is to seek union with God. Your divine nature is to awaken. This is what you come down here to do in every lifetime. Over and over and over again. And a lot of us say, well, I don't like the game. Your soul loves it. That's why you continue to come. Right? Or for other reasons. But your soul loves it. You continue to come. And this universe is expanding infinitely just like you are. Right? And so the divine counterpart that you're looking for is someone that can be that mirror, that can crack your heart open, that can pull you into deeper desire, deeper connection with yourself, deeper connection with the Most High. Because this is what true divine union is. True divine union is union with the Most High. Right? It's true union with yourself. And you will have 3 ways to experience this. The number one way that you have to go through, you have to go through yourself first. You have to go through your I am awareness. The only way through to the Father is through me. You have to go through your I am awareness of understanding who you are. The highest level of self-actualization is understanding that you are meant to say the I am because that is who you are. Right. It is coming into your divine nature that because God dwells within me, there is no limitation within me. I create the limitation. I am divine. I am worthy. I am loved just because I breathe air. There's nothing to work for. It is dropping that programming, right? And then it is from that I am awareness, giving yourself the things that you want. From the awareness that I am, from the awareness that I'm divine and worthy just as I am, now I can give myself the things that I want, and they must come because even Scripture says so. Right? Or you can go down the other path of looking for fulfillment in other people. And as you do this, what your soul is going to do is going to say, I love you so much. The Most High is going to say, I love you so much. The God within you says, I love you so much, my brother, my sister, that I am going to attract people in your life and their only purpose is to push you closer to yourself. So they'll expose something within you. They'll expose something within you. And then you call it heartbreak. And you go on this healing journey. But instead of sitting by yourself, that craving for intimacy that you have within yourself, you think, oh, it's just a physical craving for somebody else. So you get somebody else and then they hurt you again. And you're on this loop. When really the only reason that a lot of people have been attracted into your life is to push you closer to yourself. It's so you can finally give yourself the intimacy that you've been begging everyone else to give you. You've been fiending for everyone in the outside world to give you intimacy. But you can't sit by yourself in discomfort. You want everybody else to see you. But they'll never hear every single one of those 60,000 thoughts that go through your mind every day. Only you will, but you still won't see yourself. You want someone to accept you, but you haven't accepted yourself. You want someone to validate you, but you haven't validated yourself. And so you'll constantly get these people that are just meant to push you into knowing yourself, right? To push you into knowing yourself, right? But it's only until you know yourself. It is only at the point that you know yourself that you can start to strip away the illusions of the ego. The illusions that tell you that, you know what I'm saying, you have to work to be worthy. You have to work to be loved. Your wholeness comes from someone else. Once you strip down these illusions, now you become the divine match for someone else. Once you strip down the illusion of everything your therapist has told you, that because you are this avoidant attachment, you cannot be with certain type of people. They have to tiptoe around your boundaries. Now you need someone to complete you. You need the other opposite side of the puzzle to come in and complete you. And now you can feel whole. When the divine counterpart is going to come into your life and shine this mirror and say, the God within you is eternal and infinite and transcends whatever label you put on them. And this is the love that you want. This is the love that you fiend for. But it requires an amount of self-work. It requires an amount of quote-unquote humbling, which is really just coming into the inner knowing of who you are, right? Dropping the illusion. Dropping the illusion. Okay? Yeah, I've read the Four Agreements. I read them a while ago, though. It's one of the books I used to go back and forth on. And yeah, I use scripture to teach, but I mean, I've read a lot of spiritual texts. I wouldn't even necessarily consider myself a quote unquote, I really wouldn't consider myself a Christian, really. I was born into like Catholicism and I went down a bunch of different paths, right? But yeah. But do I believe in God? Yeah, of course, clearly. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's always interesting how, you're reminded of these things like the Four Agreements, right? Great book. But if you truly ask me right now, what are the Four Agreements? Shit, I'd have to Google them. But it's interesting because at certain points in your life, there are certain texts, there's certain teachings that resonate with you on such a high level that, they really bring you into a deeper inner knowing of who you are. And that becomes kind of the textbook for that season of your life. Then you move forward and you get new things and new books, and then you might go back and read it and you see it from a new perspective now. And no matter what information that we receive, at what time in our life, we always pull new things from it. You read a book 10 times, get 10 different things, get something new every single time, right? You can step away from that book thinking that you didn't really comprehend it, you didn't really receive much from it, right? And then 5 years later, you go back and read it and you're like, oh shit, I've lived and life has taught me a lot of these things as well. So we're just these constant, eternally expanding students that are going through life, stumbling around, trying to figure out our way, right? And then when you add up all of our minds together throughout humanity, it's really still just a drop in the bucket of what is the infinite intelligence of the Most High, right? So, we're all on this divine journey together. But yeah, that was definitely a book. I bought that book. Even back in the day, I bought that book for my mom. She ain't read it, of course. She ain't read it, of course, but yeah. It's definitely a good read. I highly recommend that one. And there's another one by the same author. He has a couple books that are, in like the same format. One is on love. That's the one I gave my mom and she read. Don Miguel Ruiz, yeah. is it like the mastery of love or? Yeah, the mastery of love. Yeah, I know be impeccable with your word. That one sounds very familiar. That one sounds about right. The other ones, I'm not a betting man, so I'm gonna take your word for it. So let's talk about feminine energy, cultivating feminine energy as men, right? So before we talk about that, we have to talk about how society is, because it's no longer enough as men just to focus on our masculine aspects, right? We want to be skilled, we want to be balanced, we want everything, right? And so also there's several benefits to this. Number one, from my perspective, you can rank them however you want, right? But even if you are in any kind of business position or leadership position, what are a lot of companies or corporate environments really highlighting? They're highlighting emotional intelligence, right? Something that we would almost consider to be a feminine trait back in the day. But it's not necessarily a feminine trait, but in the cultivating of emotional intelligence, tapping into your creativity, to steer arguments the right way, to make people comfortable, tapping into your empathy, your ability to feel your emotions deeply, things like that. This is feminine energy. Tapping into your intuition, etc. This is feminine energy. One of the first people in history, the first truly like dominating men in history that I read on that seemed to have a very good balance of his feminine energy was Marcus Aurelius. So if you ever have time to read the Meditations, which is Marcus Aurelius' journals on Stoicism, right, I would highly recommend this, right? It's a book about emotional intelligence, controlling your perspective, all those things, right? So why cultivating our feminine energy is important and how we can do it. It is important for a lot of reasons. Number one, for leadership, right? You have to be balanced. So there's going to be certain times where your woman wants you to conquer her with your masculinity, penetrate her with your masculinity, right? There's going to be other times where you're going to have to use a little bit more finesse. You'll have to use a little bit more finesse, right? You can't always speak to your woman's emotions or logic, right? Sometimes you're going to have to speak to her emotions, and then vice versa, right? And what you'll notice as you go down this path is, as you begin to cultivate your feminine energy, your masculinity becomes a container for it. The same way that when you have a woman in your life, okay, I didn't mean to do that. The same way that when you have a woman in your life, your masculinity acts as a container to allow her to really unfold into her femininity. Matter of fact, I think we had a very pointed discussion on this. Let me see if I can find it though. Because we might as well talk about this one in detail. We got time today. Okay, I think we can use this for the conversation. All right, so this specifically talks about relationships, but I think going down this path can help. All right, so let's talk about validation. Then let's talk about validation, Then let's talk about empathy, creativity, intuition, etc. All right. Now, when you get to a point where you say, I want to overcome my need for external validation, all right, why would I want to do this? Because as men, we become hyper-focused on pleasing the opposite sex. We become very focused on chasing feminine energy, whether it's the job title we have, the car we drive, the clothes we wear, how we speak, what we do, right? We're always hyper-focused on the external world, right? We're hyper-focused on conquering other things, right? This is all very masculine first thinking. When I want to transcend this and I want to actually step into a space of wholeness within myself, I need to be within my body. One of the beautiful things about divine women, about the best women that will be in your life, is that they will help you to stay more in your body than your mind, right? So a lot of times as men, we're gonna pull women in their body as well, but you're going to bring your woman in her mind a little bit as well. A woman is going to bring you in your body even more, all right? So many men enter relationships looking for approval rather than bringing purpose, and then a man's mission should be, so this isn't really talking about it. I don't want to say too much fluff. Oh, well, fuck it, I just freestyle. I'll freestyle, then we'll talk about Marcus Aurelius. All right, when you can get into your body, right? And when you can start to feel yourself as whole, feel yourself as love, tap into that creative divine energy within you and start to understand that your wholeness comes from within and not the external world. This is a big step in actually cultivating your feminine energy first and foremost. All right. So a lot of times how men naturally get on this path, and what I think is the best start, is practices around sexual discipline, especially like semen retention. You'll see that when people get on semen retention, when they start holding on to their sexual energy, naturally you start to have you start to have more spiritual desires. You want to meditate more. You want to stay in your body more. You want to stay in the present moment more. You want to do a lot less, overthinking on plans and constantly focusing on what is outside of you, right? And you want to stay in the moment. You want to allow and feel that energy. There are certain times you have to feel that energy. You have to allow that energy to flow through you, right? This is going to be a big step in cultivating that feminine energy within you, because that feminine energy is going to be your creative energy. Your creative energy, that same energy that you're trying to redirect, right? There's a feminine aspect of it. When we talk about semen, it's still a polarizing energy, right? So your semen itself is going to be the most masculine energy within you, your semen itself. But as you start to hold and that full-on sexual energy starts to accumulate and rise up, the Kundalini, what you'll see is if you look at ancient descriptions of the Kundalini and that serpent energy going up the spine and that crisscross, why it's crisscrossing is part of it is positive, is masculine energy. The other part of it is feminine energy flowing up through you, right? So just the natural process of holding on to that energy builds up that feminine and that masculine energy in you. That is why a lot of men feel more inclined to do spiritual things, to do more, self-care, self-work things, take care of themselves a little bit more, take care of their well-being more, right? Actually start journaling more, right? Becoming more introspective, right? Really studying their emotions, developing empathy, right? Learning how to communicate, doing more reading, right? Becoming a leader that doesn't just operate on brute force in my way or the highway, but becoming the type of person that wants to understand different perspectives, right? All these different things, all right? So a great example of a man integrating his feminine energy is a strong, disciplined leader who also embodies emotional intelligence, empathy, and creativity. So integrating feminine energy does not mean becoming weak. It means achieving balance. This is what I always talk about, is becoming balanced. Become balanced guys, become balanced goddesses, right? So Marcus Aurelius, he was a warrior, ruler, and philosopher, a true embodiment of masculine strength. However, he also integrated feminine energy through his ability to reflect deeply, show compassion, and prioritize wisdom over brute force. So reflect deeply, show compassion, and prioritize wisdom. All right, so when it comes to reflecting deeply, when we tend to think of this, all right, we tend to think of a council of, maybe women pondering stuff, or maybe you think of, when you think of the wise men or wise women, you tend to think of women as just, okay, normal. Women ponder things, women reflect, right? But when you think of these type of men, let's be a little stereotypical now. What is the image of a pondering man? What image comes to your mind when you think of a man pondering? Do you think of the warrior? Or do you think of like an older, maybe an older gray guy, scrawny, sitting in the corner with a gown on, right? When we talk about compassion, right, we don't tend to think of that warrior spirit, okay? When we talk about somebody that prioritizes wisdom over brute force, we don't tend to necessarily gravitate towards thinking about this warrior. These are feminine aspects, but they have to be integrated within us so we can move through balance. So how Marcus Aurelius actually integrated his feminine energy. So number one is emotional intelligence and self-reflection. So in Meditations, he wrote extensively about self-awareness, emotional control, and then understanding human nature, right? These were actually qualities tied to feminine wisdom, okay? So rather than reacting with aggression, he practiced restraint and inner peace, balancing his warrior nature with deep introspection, okay? And whatever you need to do to bring that deep introspection to you is going to be up to you. So for some, it might be sitting, you have a chair that's designated for meditation. For others, it's taking walks in nature. But I would highly recommend, even if you don't take a walk in nature, if you want to walk around your neighborhood or walk around your, shopping area or whatever, get to a point where at least, try to make it daily that you're going on these 30-minute walks. And in these 30-minute walks, you're not listening to music and you're not really listening to podcasts. You're just pondering. You're in your thoughts, right? You're thinking deep about yourself. You're in your body, right? So I don't mean you're just having thoughts and you're letting them wander, but think about how you feel, right? Think about what's going on in your life. Think about what's going on in your life in this present moment. Right? Connect with your body. Right? So restraint and inner peace. So balancing his warrior nature with deep introspection. I would also, one thing that we talked about earlier was in discomfortable situations or uncomfortable situations, how do you react? Are you the type of person who can sit in discomfort? Who can sit in discomfort, who can allow it to flow through you? Right? Or do you have to react? Do you have to get up and pick up and do something? Right? That nature, that desire to always want to do something, that's a very masculine desire, right? Because I feel uncomfortable, I have to move. Right? But there is a strength, there is a feminine strength, there is a strength in restraint, in training yourself not just to move and react off of feelings, not just to move and react based on the first thought, based on uncomfortable, being in discomfort, etc. Okay? So compassionate leadership. Instead of ruling with pure dominance, he was known for his fairness, kindness, and concern for the well-being of his people. All right, he sought to understand people's perspectives rather than simply enforcing his will, showing emotional receptivity, a trait linked to feminine energy. And then patience and nurturing growth. So rather than acting impulsively, he made careful, thought-out decisions, fostering stability in his environment. And then he valued education, philosophy, and personal growth, nurturing the minds of his people instead of ruling solely through power. Now, some actual modern-day examples. All right, so President Obama, the former president, all right, he was probably one of the few presidents that could actually relate to people on an emotional level. Don't really give a fuck what y'all think about him, but when it comes to feminine energy, right, he was someone who did have a balance. He could talk, tough if he needed to, but he could also appeal to his base's emotions, all right, which is very important for any leader, is to be able to appeal specifically to their emotions in different ways. You can appeal to certain people's emotions and get them fired up. Like, but what about when the situation doesn't call for that? Right? Can you touch people's emotions in a different way? Okay. Bruce Lee, so a martial artist and philosopher, he emphasized adaptability. Be water, my friend. So showing balance between force and flow. When it comes to manifesting, when it comes to being the creators of our reality, one of the more difficult tasks that men have to face is being more present. This is why things like walking, things like meditation, sitting in the discomfort of your emotions are so important. Because when you're trying to attract things into your life that you want, you're going to have to sit in the chaos of the world. This is why even yesterday we talked about how your relationship with women can teach you a lot about manifesting, and manifesting can teach you a lot about women. Because can you sit still and in conviction of what you want, but still have the emotional intelligence, the emotional capacity, right? The strength, the stillness to sit and allow the world to look chaotic in front of you? Can you flow with whatever changes come? Or are you constantly in this mode where you think you have to grip and change and force your way through everything, right? And then Keanu Reeves, so respected for his humility, for his kindness, and for his deep introspection. So while still maintaining a strong and decisive presence. All right, we know Keanu Reeves for giving back. You can look at him and the roles he plays are these hardened roles, but he does have a feminine balanced side. Okay, so the takeaway from it, integrating feminine energy does not mean losing masculinity, right? It means balancing strength with wisdom, action with reflection, and discipline with compassion. A truly powerful man is one who can fight when necessary, but also heal, listen, and nurture. We also don't need to mysticize what this integrating the feminine energy is. As a man, you want to be balanced, right? You want to be fully developed, well developed in all areas of your life. You want to be the type of man who walks in the house and your woman looks at you like Hercules just came home, and then you can, in a masculine way, put that pipe on her. But you also want to be able to romantically do that, right? You want to be someone who, when the situation calls for it, right, can lead through force and lead through strength, but also you can be a type of leader who everyone feels heard, right? The same way that you penetrate the world is the way you want to penetrate your woman. So in today's day and age, we cannot just be men who are looking to lead a dictatorship. We want people to feel heard. We want to connect with the women in our life, with the other people in our life in deeper levels, right? In deeper, more sensual levels. In order to do that, we have to have balance, right? So we have to understand how to heal, how to listen, how to nurture. And the primary thing that we have to do to be able to do these things, right, is I want you to look at what are the traits that I want the feminine to display to me. Okay, do I want her to be nurturing and peaceful and all those things? How can I be those things? Right. One of the easiest things that you can do is start tapping into more reading. Read more. Meditate more. Journal more. Right? Do all those things, man. But now that you said that, I'll make a lecture. Let's do a separate lecture specifically on this. Because for this live, I want to try to keep most of it on the same topic. But let me... start right here. But no, I appreciate that one, man. Oh no, this is not what we were just looking at. Looking at this. can't wear these glasses. They for sale. If y'all want them, I'll give them to you. For the small price for the small little price of all right, y'all. Any other questions? Any other things y'all want to discuss? If not, let's end this with a quick prayer. And then I'll probably talk to y'all again tomorrow. Good. If y'all have any other things that any other topics y'all want me to talk about, you can always just let me know. Just let me know. Yeah, small price. I'll send the price to everybody. You know, the highest, basically the highest bid will win though. But all right, y'all. Let's end this with a prayer. All right, Heavenly Father. Thank you for every situation, every person, every opportunity that you've placed in our life to grow. Continue to remind us every moment that you are with us, that you flow through us, and that the worthiness that is within us and the love that is within us is not something that we need to work to achieve or strive to get from the external world, but it's something that we generate from within ourselves. It is something that we are. I pray for anyone that's going through heartbreak, that's going through pain, that you provide them with the healing, the love, with the peace that only you can provide, and also remind them that love is always within themselves and ready to be tapped into. Cool. All right, y'all. I see you all as beautiful, as divine, as wealthy, as worthy, as prosperous, as in alignment with everything that you want. If you do not feel that way, it's cool, because I see you as that way anyway, so I know that it must be true. Okay, y'all have a divine and blessed Saturday. All right, and till next time, stay prosperous. Later.